I've been making a lot of videos recently where I bring up the site Denpachan, but what I've realized is I think I've only done like one video promoting it or talking about it in any serious way. So I thought, because I moderate this website, why don't I just show you what it is? So this is Denpachan. It's called a website that will not. Oh. Oh. What's going on with that? Let's see if you can hear that. Let's see if my mic picks it up. It's raining really hard right now. Like, it's raining so hard right now that I can hear it all across the roof of my building, on my window. It's loud, but I don't know if my phone is necessarily picking it up. I have been spending all day meticulously doing this because I guess the website is gonna go down. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to amend or contradict some of my statements from yesterday, not about the internet, but rather about the state of my brain. Because yesterday I made a video in response to another video, which also happened to have been a segment in a larger video about an entirely separate topic, where I said, oh, I guess I'm improving. All I had to do was cycle my caffeine intake. And today I had the exact same amount that I had yesterday, and for the first like 2 hours of the day I was pretty locked in and I did some pretty good work, and because of that, I don't really worry about Anki. But since then, well, I've been having some trouble, and I've been having trouble on multiple fronts because I was trying to do input, and unlike normally, I found my mind just wandering. I wasn't really paying attention to the content or the words, and I kept having to rewind and listen to it again in order for me to even like register that the words were there. And I've even had to do this with some content I've tried listening to today in my native language. I'm not sure what's happening. I don't generally experience things like this. This kind of thing tends to exclusively happen to me in summer for some reason. I don't know if it's the heat. I don't think it is, because the air conditioning is on in here. I don't know if that's just literally a coincidence. I don't know if it's something I'm eating or something I'm not eating. I mean, it very well could be. Maybe I need to eat more vegetables or something. Usually I'm pretty good on all the other stuff. I haven't been eating the like omega-3 packed bread that I usually eat. Maybe I should start eating that again. And by that I mean I haven't had it in like 3 or 4 days. But I mean, usually eating a lot of that throughout the day tends to get me going pretty good over time. So I mean, maybe it's that. Frankly, I have no idea why this is happening. I come up with all these theories as to why, like, my brain is either functioning well or functioning poorly, and I have no objective way of ascertaining the accuracy or veracity of any of these theories. They just sort of come out, and I'm left wondering at the end of the day. I think maybe what's going on is like a combination of an eating and a social isolation thing, maybe. Frankly, I have no idea. But needless to say, today my brain has just not been cooperating with me, and I don't like when this happens, because I'm so used to my brain working at a very high level and me being able to do all these different things throughout the day. And lately I've just been getting hit with this odd cognitive stuff. Not entirely sure what the cause is. And I thought cycling caffeine would be the solution. It appears to not be the solution. I mean, maybe I need to be more intense about it, like go all the way down to like the amount that's in a single soda. Just do that for like a week and then go completely off of it for like 2 weeks again, like I did last time, and then switch it back on. I might need to do that. It could be helpful, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know my brain doesn't work very well whenever it gets really accustomed to having like high amounts of caffeine. That never works out well for me. I've seen this happen to me many times. If my brain and body get accustomed to having high amounts of caffeine every day, it just stops working optimally and I start having issues. So I mean, maybe there's the solution. It seems like no matter what is going on with me, I never stop doing Anki. And so I know that like I'm not going to forget the information that I have. You know, if I go through an extended period of time where I am withdrawing from caffeine and like mostly playing video games or something, that's fine, you know. But no, it could be a socializing thing too, that it could very well be the case that I simply need to do that. But as of now, it's like I lack the resources or even the ability to go do that, right? So just socializing with my family and people on the internet is all I really have. But some people don't even have that, you know, so I am thankful for the fact that I have that. But it's not as if I have the economic resources right now to just go somewhere and hang out with someone as much as I would love to. You know, I'd love to be able to just call up no thank you and be like, hey, I'm on an international flight, what's up, you know, or go to Canada again, or go across the country to see some of my other friends, you know. But I don't have that ability right now, you know. I'm not living in that world, so I'm sort of trying to work with what I have to work with and experiencing difficulties. But it is what it is, right? You know, you can't give up no matter what happens. It's like if you're faced with a challenge or a setback, or you feel weird, like you feel kind of not the way that you normally do, you can't let that derail everything in your life. You know, it's like when Ghost Lightning told the artist formerly known as Digibro, it's like when Ghost Lightning told her, you know, you can't let yourself be controlled by these moods all the time. And I think that's very true. You know, with a lot of things in life, they happen because you just did them. You know, I'm a very firm believer in the idea of agency and choice. I know people have some disagreements about that topic, particularly in my, I hesitate to call it community because I think that terminology is a little off-putting, but, you know, in this sphere, I know a lot of people are resistant to that concept for, I think, understandable reasons, or they make some good arguments, but I firmly believe in the idea of agency and of choice. And it's an idea that has served me very well because of my belief in the concept of agency. I have been able to overcome massive obstacles. I've been able to get rid of habits. I've been able to create positive ones. I've been able to change fundamental things about how I think that were damaging me. I have been able to take on new responsibilities and projects that I've been able to consistently meet and maintain for months and months now, in spite of sometimes some pretty difficult or stressful events happening. So I believe very strongly in the idea of agency. It's not like I just sort of appeared here in this situation. It was something I had to work on in an intentional and deliberate way. And a lot of people just straight up dismiss the idea that that's a possibility. If I did that, 100%, I would just be laying in my bed all day. I'd be laying in my bed all day. I would not be doing anything really that makes me happy or that helps me. I would be surrounding myself with bad habits, with things that kind of only further entrench the kind of brain fog I'm talking about. You know, I'd be on social media all day. I'd be fucking probably watching YouTube shorts or some crazy shit like that, you know. I'm not about that whole world. And, you know, even when I've been tempted to sort of fall into that world, I haven't let myself. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's a crazy world out there. Sometimes, to sort of segue, sometimes I really miss No Thank You's Discord server, The Crazy World. You guys remember that? Sadly, it's deleted alongside the years of conversations that were had there and all of the lore that was created in that place. It was deleted when he made Denpachan to replace his Discord server. And I mean, you see how well that's going. Denpachan is going to get deleted now and replaced by something else. But I've been thinking a lot about Denpachan because of this, and also because I am a moderator on Denpachan. You know, I am responsible for deleting things that should not be on the website when No Thank You isn't awake. And it's very convenient for him because I tend to be awake at the exact opposite time of when he's awake. And also, I tend to go on the website much more than he does. If I'm on my computer, I basically always have it open, and as I'm, you know, cycling through different websites, I am refreshing the page and seeing if there's any new posts or posting myself. So, you know, I'm pretty on top of things as long as I'm awake. But I don't really mind being in that role. I guess because I never really stopped being a channer. You know, I stopped using chans nearly as much as I used to because I started to develop more productive hobbies. But I never stopped believing in the idea of chans. You know, I never stopped really liking the aesthetic of alt boards and what they represent, and the fact that they can run on my ThinkPad X60 from the early 2000s. All this stuff is meaningful to me. And it's difficult to watch a project that I care a lot about just die like that, right? You know, it's just gonna disappear. And it's got me thinking, you know, maybe I should start my own thing. Maybe I should take the source code for the website that I showed off in my last video, which translates to "Welcome to the Internet." Maybe I should take the source code and make my own website that is similar to it. You know, a BBS image board hybrid. And then I can kind of link it to the meta of, I guess, this channel, or maybe like a broader concept like Neats or Hikikomori. There used to be a website called Hikichan, which was very fun, you know, when it was around, but it wasn't around for very long. I made a separate video about that years and years ago now called The Problem with Hikichan and How It Could Have Been Prevented, I believe is what it was called. But that was, you know, the main like neat themed board that I have known and loved. There are other ones that have existed, but they've dealt with major problems like with spam and just kind of inattentive moderators, or they have not had very good content. Like, I don't know, like you go in there and it's like, okay, like, the one guy posts every 3 days, and it's like not exactly the most marvelous post. But that's also part of the appeal of a lot of these websites too. I feel like, you know, with this sort of thing, with this sort of thing, um, it's like it's this it's this project of sort of like collective mediocrity almost, where I feel like, you know, everybody on there is doing a bad job at being a person or posting. And that's part of the charm of it, which, might sound like, it might sound kind of counterintuitive, like, oh, you want to make a good website by being a bad website? Okay. um, but I also think it's part of the charm. I think it's part of the charm offensive that these websites go on, to win the affection from me. And it is kind of an adolescent or juvenile pastime to have, browsing image boards using BBSs, right? It's a pastime that belongs to people who spend a lot of time on the internet, especially, spend enough time to make these communities active, and to, make it to where they have a user base. But that's kind of what I'm all about, like that's a big part of the ethos of this channel. It's like a guy who doesn't want to work, has different mental health issues, and obsessive interests that typically revolve around doing stuff in one's room. And I wouldn't say promoting that, because I'm not evangelizing this lifestyle or something, but I am talking about why I enjoy it, and how I sustain it, things like this. And I feel like it's no surprise that that type of website, would appeal a lot to someone with that sort of interest, who, belongs to that category of person, I guess. See, like, my thoughts are so slow right now. I'm having so much trouble thinking, it's actually crazy. But here I was thinking that I cured my brain fog just because I had gone months and months and months without it, but no, I guess it's back. Yeah, I don't know. It's sad to see it go, and I mean, it was sad to see the Discord server go as well, even though, if I recall correctly, I wasn't even on Discord when it got deleted. If I was, I definitely was not in the server. But it makes me sad because of all the memories that I did have there, ultimately. And, the fact that I am not going to be able to access them because of that. And, the same can be said now of Denpachan to some extent, although I do feel like there's more of an effort to archive Denpachan in this case. Like, yesterday I spent, like, a lot of my day just going to Internet Archive and saving threads in the Wayback Machine, which is tedious. It's tedious and annoying, but it is what it is. It's part of internet history. It's also part of the history of, like, our YouTube channels. It's an important part of what we have been trying to accomplish here on this platform. He and I have been trying to promote a positive, well, depending on how you look at it, attitude towards being a NEET and otaku. Sort of talking about these things as things to be embraced, things to be indulged and enjoyed. Whereas a lot of the discussion from so-called NEET communities online tends to be very negative. They spend all this time just complaining about the lifestyle, which has always struck the two of us as very strange, because we didn't become like this to complain. We didn't we didn't choose this life because we wanted it to be bad or something. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if he or I had major problems with this lifestyle, we would just go find a different lifestyle. And I think that definitely comes through in a lot of our videos, which is sort of a rare thing in the like broader neat sphere. There are some other people that embody that. A really good YouTube channel that you should check out is one called Idle Neat, and he makes these very comfy like slice of life vlogs talking about his life and his situation. Really cool dude that runs that channel. But I think he represents that too, you know, just that positive attitude towards the lifestyle, not all the doomerism and the pill ideology and negativity. And you know, a big part of me just wants to create a space that simultaneously like embodies the aesthetic of the old internet and also happens to be a positive space online that focuses on needs, that focuses on technology and all the Linux autism, that kind of stuff that I'm into. And I think it can be done. And you know, the weird thing is, he and I have put various mitigation efforts together to prevent the spam on Denpachan. And so far it seems to be working, right? And like, I'm like, I was going to say a 24/7 moderator, but that's not quite true. I'm like a 12-hour a day moderator, you know? Like, I'm always sort of around. And so it's so weird to me, this idea of deleting the website when it seems like the spammers are basically gone, when it seems like, how do I put this? Like the actual effort one would need to put into maintaining the site at this point is like relatively low, or at least for him, you know. I think the main problem with the site at this point is just that for the most part people don't post on it. I think it still remains the most active BBS in the English speaking world, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it is a slow website. And we want the user base to expand. I think actually he wants it to get smaller, because, you know, he complains about, you know, quote unquote retards being on the site or whatever. But it's like, I mean, I complain about those people too, but that's part of why I'm on the website, right? Because it's funny, you know, it's fun to see that type of post. And again, I think that's very much a Channer mentality, right? Like, oh, the appeal is that it's bad. So then at the same time, I can sort of see where he's coming from. But there's also a lot of genuinely really high quality posts on the site too. For as much like, you know, random nonsense you see and retardation, there's also some really good posts and some really good people that post there. So I sort of have this like movement in my head to save Denpachan. Even though, like, I know the website's going to get deleted, he's going to turn it into something else. But, like, I want to convince him to keep it up somehow. I don't think that I can. So I think probably what I'm going to have to do is make my own site. And that's going to be the next big project that I work on, you know, in addition to all the stuff that I've already been doing. But there's a lot of moving parts to this. I mean, there's other things that I want to do as well. I really don't want to be using this smartphone, to be honest with you. You know, I got it from my dad in order to do a couple things, really. I had a dumb phone that I was using that was working just fine, but I wanted something that I could use Duolingo on, and I wanted something that I could do listening on for Spanish content in a variety of situations. I also wanted something that I could that I could do Anki on in addition to the Anki that I do on my computer. So we're talking about two separate accounts being utilized. And on one level, it's been very useful, but I also am starting to feel like the phone is overwearing its welcome. For over a year, I did that dumb phone thing, and it was going very well for me. I wasn't as distracted, my brain was more clear, I had fewer kind of issues with digital technology. And now I'm sort of starting to see them slowly come back and creep up on me again. I'm seeing how much time I'm using with this one device, and I'm not liking it. I'm not enjoying it. By the way, somebody asked the other day what camera I use to film videos with. This is just a phone. I'm using an application called Open Camera in order to record things at this specific resolution, but yeah, it's just a phone. Anyway, I'm seeing this device creep up on me. The amount of time that I'm using it is really adding up, and I don't like that. I don't like being someone who's just hunched over looking at their phone. I mean, I've seen what it's done even to my own sister. She's on TikTok all day, literally all day. Like, I don't think I ever see her not on it unless she's cooking. And that's really depressing to me. I don't want to be someone like that. Honestly, I don't find being on the computer all day depressing, even though I find the phone, there's something just dystopian and strange about the phone. There's something about the phone that I really do not like. And so I want to change that. I want to have it set up to where, I have my PSP if I need to go out and game. I have my GPS if I'm in a bind and I need to know how to get the hell out of there. I have a compass as well. So a compass and a map would work pretty well, especially given that I remember a lot of the streets and the general layout of where I live. A compass and a map would be fine if I ever just need to refresh my memory on something. A GPS, is also pretty good. You get the same function as Google Maps. And then for doing my listening for Spanish, I could very easily just use my iPod. Funnily enough, my iPod is not jailbroken. I still need to jailbreak it, but I could easily just use my iPod. And I have a bunch of cameras. I don't need to use this as a camera. I have so many cameras. So there's a lot of possibilities. I have a lot of computers as well. None of them are particularly good. Like, my desktop computer died, and I did a bunch of videos about it, and I still haven't fixed it. It's still broken. But I have a lot of other computers. I have a Libre booted T400, which right now I'm trying to reinstall the operating system on, and I'm having trouble with that. And I have an X230 that I use. I have an X60, which also has Libre boot. I have a couple other ones, but I'm not even using them. And all of that is to say, I'm basically good as far as computers are concerned. I still want more, because I am a collector, which is the dignified term for a hoarder in our modern context. So I like to own a lot of cool things, and I do want to own a more comfy looking computer, let's just say. I talked to Sophia about this. When even was it? It must have been almost a year ago now, that we came up with basically this plan for what my ultimate machine is going to be. And she found this medium-sized computer, not quite a mini PC because it wasn't really tiny, and not quite a regular-sized PC. It was the components for a medium one. And she was going through all the highest specifications it could potentially have. And she was saying like, oh yeah, like we could basically fit it in a 90s chrome or beige looking shell. And I was like, oh perfect, yeah, because I want a beige computer. I want to use one of those old shells, and I want to have a beige CRT monitor that matches with it, and then the mouse with the ball on the inside, and one of those really old looking keyboards. And I could actually put Linux on that and have a pretty competent computer, one that could do all the things that I need it to do. But the whole time it would look like what I'm using is this really old machine. And I quite like that idea. The other thing that I could do as well is literally just buy one of these really old computers and then try to fit it with the best possible parts that it's compatible with, and then put one of these versions of Linux that they have out there right now, that are made to run on these old machines, but are made to have as many of the like modern amenities on them as possible function. Like there are versions of Linux out there that people have made recently, that you can run with 1 megabyte of RAM, just like crazy stuff like that. And I could do that if I just, really want to continue using the computer the way that I have been. Like the main way that I use it is just to interact with like BBSs and image boards and to read the news or whatever. To use like IRC or some client like that. I mean, even when I use Discord, I'm basically using IRC because I'm using a custom client that allows me to use Discord in the terminal on Manjaro. So I am, for all intents and purposes, looking at Discord as though it was IRC. I've thought about maybe setting up a bridge between some of the servers that I do interact with, or some of the users that I do interact with, and literally just talking to them from IRC to Discord, which is an option that is available out there. I used to know people that communicated from Matrix to Discord in that manner, which was a thing. It was a fun time. But I might do that. But I also am not too worried about Discord because I don't use it all that much. It's not this weird addictive thing where I'm checking it 24/7 the way that it used to be for me years ago. I've gotten away from all that. I'm able to have it and keep it without having these major issues tied to it that I used to talk about. But I do want to stop using this phone before it gets out of hand. And I think to replace it, there's a lot of good options. I basically stretch out my activity on this thing through multiple devices. And when I inevitably do that, I do want to make a video talking about my setup, all the different stuff I take with me. And I think that would be good. But right now, yeah, I'm in sort of not the best situation technologically with this thing. I do want to change that, but the worst thing too is that I put my Google account on here like a month ago, after having used it for multiple months without even a Google account tied to it. The way I was getting updates for all the apps and downloading apps in the first place was by using this App Store alternative, which is available in the F-Droid store, to basically anonymize your traffic to Google Play and then download the APKs directly from Google Play. It's called Aurora, the Aurora store. and I was downloading all of it that way just because I didn't want to be logged into Google on my phone. You know, something about that just felt kind of spooky or wrong, and I didn't have access to like a Graphene OS phone, like a de-Googled phone. So I thought, well, I can make this sort of private by doing this, but in the end I folded at the very end, and now I do also have Google on here. So I mean, just this whole situation is awful. Like I want to just put my SIM card back in my dumb phone again, and then take the battery out when I don't want to be listened to, or, you know, put it in like a tin foil bag or something and just not worry about it. And then also not have to deal with all of the stress and overstimulation that comes from having literally the whole world at your fingertips on the cell phone. So I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot of things to consider or to think about, but overall, I do find myself in sort of an odd position right now. I don't like the path that I see myself going down with this device. So I want to fix that as soon as I possibly can, because otherwise, you know, it's not going to be good for me. I don't want to fall into full-on phone addiction again, especially when I worked so hard to get over that. And I'm not there yet, but I see the signs building. That's not good, especially when I'm already having cognitive issues. That'll just make it even worse, you know? That'll just make what I'm already dealing with 10 times worse. So there is that. And then there's also the fact that I am dealing, on top of that, with the potential, very likely loss of Denpachan, which is one of my homes on the internet. I don't want to see it go. And then on top of that, you know, there's also there's also this brain stuff and the summertime, and you know, it's a lot, right? Like I really just want to optimize my relationship to all technology and have the most positive relationship with it that I can. And I feel like I already had that not too long ago, minus just a couple things. And then, you know, in order to have access to some learning apps and things like that, I sort of threw it away. There was also some necessities in my personal life for having this at the time that I won't go into, but yeah, I mean, it is a thing. It's a strange world that I happen to live in. But you know, it is what it is, right? I'm thinking right now. I am thinking. Yeah, this is the worst thing about like becoming slow, is that you have all these things that you want to express, but you forget them, or you don't fully know what's up. But I guess one of the really good things is that I've gotten my creative spark with videos back. You know, I've been making a lot more of them. I have had a lot more things that I've wanted to talk about, and I've been enjoying the process of doing that quite a bit. So there's also sort of a big thanks to everybody who actually watches these, who, you know, takes the time out of their day to listen to the things that I have to say and to keep up with me. It's one of the best things that I have in my life. Sometimes I wonder where I would be without it, especially at this point when so many of the connections that I do have are as a direct result of this YouTube channel. Where would I even be without this thing, man? I don't know. I mean, I use it as so many things, a diary, a psychiatrist. I use it to make calls to action, to draw people's attention towards things that I want people to see and to check out. I use it to, you know, search for connection and friendship. I use this YouTube channel for so many things. You know, it's like, even if tomorrow, for whatever reason, you know, my channel got taken down, I would just be up the next day or the same day, and I'd start a new one. I'd just start a fucking new one, man. I don't know. I really love this. I have for over 10 years now, but it's one of my favorite things. It really is. And no matter what happens, I always have this. Even if YouTube itself isn't around anymore, there will be other sites or other methods by which I can make these videos and post them to the internet, even if it has to be with my own website, you know. And that's the other thing too, is that I'm also at the same time considering making a website to actually host all of my videos, that would be quite the task. It would also be quite expensive given the file sizes of especially certain videos of mine. But I think it's doable. You know, I really do. And yeah, that's on the back burner as well. So there's a lot of digital projects that I want to engage in. I also am trying to figure out how to host my own blog, because I have the Bear blog account. I want to host, like, from my house, just a simple blog on the internet, you know, just a text-based blog, and that I'm also trying to figure out. So yeah, a lot of moving parts to this. Of course, to justify making something like that, I think I'd also have to be writing a little bit more, which is something I want to get back into. I'm thinking of doing like a weekly like review retrospective type series for my blog that goes through like all the games I've played that week or something like that. Or perhaps like language learning advice stuff, something along those lines, as sort of an extra series. I don't know, the sky is the limit. It's like what Biggie Smalls, well, technically the R&B choir in a Biggie Smalls song once said, "The sky is the limit. You know that you can have what you want, be what you want." It's true, but my American exceptionalism aside, my optimism aside, I think I have a pretty solid plan here. I think I have a pretty solid plan here, both to escape the botnet and also to escape the negative aspects of life that are slowly encroaching on me. That I want to do everything that I can to extinguish. So that was another one.